Okay.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. What do we call you? Mr. President? Yeah. All right, you like that. All right. So we have one last tribute, last but never least. Miss Cole, will you please read the tribute to Senator Donovan?
The Senate of the Colorado Legislature, convened in the second regular session of the 73rd General Assembly, hereby extends our sincerest congratulations, commendation, and thanks to Kerry Donovan, Senate District 5. Senator Donovan was elected to serve the 70th.
That actually looks really good on you.
71st, 72nd, and 73rd General Assemblies, where she represented her fellow citizens with dedication and honor. During her tenure with the Senate, she served with distinction as the Senate President Pro Tem and as the Majority Whip. Senator Donovan also served on the Agricultural, Natural Resources, and Energy Committees as its chair and was the vice chair of the Transportation and Energy Committee. In addition, she served on the Local Government Committee, the Legislative Audit, and the Legislative Council committees. She also served on the Water Resources Review, Transportation Legislation Review, and the Off-Highway Vehicle Interim Committees, as well as on the Select Committee on Energy and the Environment. The citizens of Colorado and the members of the Senate express gratitude for Senator Donovan's exemplary service to our great state and wish her well in her future endeavors. Given this 11th day of May 2022, State Capitol, Denver, Colorado, Steve Fenberg, President of the Senate.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, please be seated. Senator Donovan, you got a doppelganger over there. We're going to have a game later of who wore it better.
He definitely did.
It's an honor just to say a few words about my friend, Kerry Donovan. When I came into the Senate, Senator Donovan had already been here, and I have to say I was immediately impressed with her knowledge of how this place works. She truly has, much like the words I shared with Ford Minority Leader Holbert, she's a guardian of the institution. She makes sure that that this building's customs and traditions are protected and honored. I'll never forget, actually, we had a late night in the Majority Leader's office, and we were playing a fun game about, what motivates you to be here. And I loved hearing Senator Donovan, what motivated her to be here, and was particularly touched by the honor she felt to be a member of this body. It was touching because not everyone gets this opportunity. And it's truly special for someone to know that and to, more importantly, honor it. And you have always honored it. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for what you've done for the people of your district. It is not always easy to be a Western Slope Democrat, but the folks in your community, we're lucky to have you and are better off for your service.
Senator Smallwood.
Again, more paraphernalia. I hesitated wearing this because there's going to be more than one person that says, oh, there's another lawmaker that in the middle of a tribute or a moment of personal privilege is trying to attract attention to themselves instead of who we're paying homage to. So I bought this jacket probably 2 weeks after Senator Donovan wore it the first time in the chamber. And Owen Hill and I were standing right there going, is that a biker jacket? Is Kerry wearing a biker jacket in the chamber? Like, and we're like, that's pretty badass. I think I want one. And Owen, who is not listening right now, was like, you should buy it and wear it whenever Kerry's term is up and she's out of the Senate, and you guys would both be wearing the same jacket. That would be hilarious. So that's when I bought it, and I've hung on to it. It's been in the closet since then, and I haven't worn it yet. And it's because we thought we thought you'd be one of the few people that actually could appreciate it. So I can't take all the credit. This was a lot of Owen Hill's very active imagination. I loved somebody earlier today, I think it was Senator Gardner talking about Senator Lee, or Senator Lee responding to Senator Gardner talking about how you've run bills together and how you have much more in common legislatively than when you've been on the other side of things, and that's how I feel about Senator Donovan. People don't necessarily remember the Donowood or the Smallwood bills, and we have a slew of them. We served on audit committee together and had a ton of fun, and have found common ground in 95% of the issues, but people only like to remember the ones where we had big fights, and where Kerry earned, am I allowed to say Kerry? Yeah. Where I really started getting to know who Kerry was, respecting what she stood for, understanding her a little bit, at least I think so, or as much as she's willing to give up. But I want to take a moment to speak at the well, because it is important to me. There are so few people in this chamber, particularly on the other side of the aisle, particularly in the environment that we're in today, where you can, get together outside of the chamber and have fun. And Kerry does that. And she's welcoming, as you probably know, the little party corner. Talk about the fun caucus. Kerry does just a great job having this open door that people from both sides and different philosophies can just come and relax and talk about life and families and pets and all that kind of stuff. And there's so little of that anymore, particularly across the aisle. And it's the thing that makes me probably the saddest, is knowing that is most likely going away. The collaboration is the other piece. Senator Donovan had the power to single-handedly probably destroy an entire industry if she felt like it. Literally could. And when I reached out to Kerry on a number of issues, 2 or 3 really, really big ones, it was always like, yeah, come in, sit down, let's talk. I don't know, I don't have all the answers. Tell me what you think. What can we do about this and what can we do about that? And I had very little influence on her, as you can imagine, but the collaboration I think was there, and I know she listened, and I know that and I try to say this anytime the media asks me about these big health policy issues that went through. So I'm just really grateful that the people who are carrying this legislation do that, right? They collaborate still, and they take their ideas and they make them better. And so thank you, Senator Donovan, for doing that. And you actually have taught me more about being in the legislature than anybody on the other side of the aisle, exponentially. You are so bold, which is so lacking in this place so often, right? I don't think I know anybody who can walk that line between listening and collaborating, and also knowing when you really feel strongly about something and you're not willing to give an inch because you're committed to it. That is, nowadays it feels like so many people aren't willing to take on leadership. They're not willing to take on, and we're hearing a lot about the executive branch and that type of thing, not willing to take on their colleagues when they're really passionate about something. And I really, really, really respect what you've taught me just in these last 2 years about doing both of those things. You are a great negotiator. Thank you for all the work you've done on the bills that we've carried together. You've done the heavy lifting on the negotiation side, but hopefully I've taken a few of those lessons and will be able to use them for the next couple of years. So you've benefited me personally and professionally for that. But most importantly is how authentic you are, and also hard to find. Also hard to find people who can be open with their personal life, open with their struggles, open with what they're thinking, how they'd like to see the world, and knowing that we're here for such a short period of time and trying to get so much done on such an uphill slog, right? That authenticity is what really struck me. And when I was deliberating wearing your jacket, which by the way is very hard to find in a XXL, I will tell you that. I don't know what it is about stores that sell vegan leather, but apparently not a lot of people my size buy vegan leather biker jackets. But as I was deliberating that, I wrote something down to make sure that the point was made, which is that when this jacket's on my back, when I'm wearing this as an homage to Senator Donovan, more or less it's a costume, right? It's a mask, like so many of us wear when we're here, that is hiding maybe insecurities, maybe self-doubt, maybe self-loathing, I don't know. And for so many electeds, at least the ones that I've met lately, the chamber itself is so often just theatrics. When Senator Donovan puts on this jacket, it's just a cool jacket. So thank you. I'm going to miss you.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Theatrics, like we were just talking about.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. You know, I don't know if you know, but she raises cattle. She raises Highlander cattle, which are the coolest looking cattle. They're like those, they're really cool looking cattle, but you wonder if there's anything underneath that fur and that hair. It's kind of like those puppies you see, you know, that are really furry and hairy, and you pick them up and oh my God, they're about that big around. So I didn't know, and I would like to actually know how they fatten. I'd like to put them in my feedlot, see how they work. But they're really cool, and I love looking at them. And I sent her a note here a couple of months ago. I had found this shirt, this obnoxious Hawaiian shirt with Highlander cattle on them. And I said, if I buy this for your husband, do you think he'd wear it? She didn't respond. She bought it herself, for crying out loud. And then she got it. And I started looking at all their products, and I go, well, they got all sorts of different cattle on these obnoxious shirts. So I bought a couple as well, but mine haven't showed up yet. They must have had to come from Mars or Pluto or someplace. Anyhow, I tell you that story because agriculture is not always the same. And it has been a true pleasure to work with my good friend in the livestock industry on how other agriculture works. Now, she's a livestock producer, but she has ties to other types of agriculture that I don't. And I've always appreciated that. I've always loved working with her. Now, for the part that I've been waiting years to publicly say, I need to apologize for my caucus. I have felt bad about this. Was it 7 years ago? Was it 8 years ago? Was it your first year? I don't remember. We killed one of her bills. And then we moved to reconsider so we could kill it again. And if that wasn't enough, we moved it again to kill it 3 times. And I don't know what the motive, I still to this day don't know what the motive was there. But I sat back and go, God, nobody deserves to be treated like that. You held it together well. I'd have come on court. I don't know what I would have done, but that was unreasonable. So publicly, on behalf of my caucus, I'm sorry that happened, but I will tell you that it came at an advantage for you because it made me more like a big brother to defend you. Wanted to protect her, and that has created this relationship that we have had where we do water things together, we do ag things together, and I've watched her as a leader be an incredible leader that says, look, you should do this. You should do this. Let me help you. I'll work behind the scenes, but you need to be successful at this. And this is something up your alley, whether it's a water bill, whether it's the stimulus funds, a sign of a great, great leader. I've loved working with her. I usually like to tell a story or two, but that have a little fun to it, but I'm not going to do that. You need to know how incredibly proud I am of the work you've done, the advocacy for agriculture, for water, and what you've done here in the chamber in leadership as President Pro Tem, as a leader when you were in the minority. I can't thank you enough for your friendship. From your big brother. Love you, girl. Thank you.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I think the current president will like this bit of historical information. Colorado was the first state to elect women to the legislature. We were actually the first parliamentary body in the world to elect women to the legislature. And I have traveled the country training women to run for office, and I'm often asked why Colorado was at the lead, why we tend to be at the top for electing women, and I say it's our pioneering spirit, because when we were settling Colorado, it didn't matter who mended the fences and took care of the cows, and that's why we need more women ranchers in the legislature. Right, because they are tough and tenacious, and Kerry comes to this work every single day showing that tenacity in the love of ranching and agriculture and the people in the Western Slope, and we could use more of that in this chamber. And I just appreciate her perspective every single time that she comes down here and how she does that. And so thank you for all the work that she has done supporting her communities, because when Kerry walks into this building every single day, the first thing she thinks about is how can I represent my communities? How can I be the voice for my community? And I just appreciate that so much. And we need more women ranchers, and more women like Kerry elected to this body. But Kerry doesn't come by herself, as many people know. And I'm not talking about her husband, who's an amazing human as well, but Gary Donovan has been a fixture in this Capitol that has provided a lot of love and support. And so with that, I would like an additional tribute to be read.
Members, your attention to the well, please. Ms. Cole, please read the tribute.
The Senate of the Colorado Legislature, convened in second regular session of the 73rd General Assembly, hereby extends heartiest thanks to Senator Gary Donovan. The Colorado State Senate honors the vital work of Senator Gary Donovan, that with a gentle paw is a constant reminder about what is truly important. In the past sessions, while I have been your friend, we have had our fair share of ups and downs, triumphs, failures, and uncertainties. You have been there throughout it all. You have offered your love and guidance to everyone in the Capitol and taught me how to be an emotional support dog to our humans that do hard work. Enjoy this moment, you seem to say, because this moment is all we have and the only one that ever matters. You possess a wide smile, a happy tail, and a sweet spirit. I hope someday they let you run down the middle aisle. Thank you for getting our names in the official journal. You could not be more deserving of this recognition of appreciation for the Colorado State Senate. On request of Senator Queso Winter, given this 11th day of May 2022, State Capitol, Denver, Colorado, President Ellie Fenberg.
Will the sergeants please admit Senator Gary Donovan and his escorts to the chamber?
Queso! Gary! Come here!
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to Senator Donovan and his trip finally down the center aisle after waiting for years to visit his mom. I was nervous. And thank you to Senator Donovan, Senator Gary, for all your work and your service. You've made the Capitol a much better place. Thank you. All right, get out of here.
Senator Coram.
Well, in the last hours of my last days of my 12 years here, things have truly gone to the dogs here. I can see that. So, Senator Donovan, it has been a pleasure to work with you all these years, and we have served on. I don't think you were on State Affairs or Business, but I haven't had a committee that I haven't served with you on, and it's been. And what I really like about this lady, she actually calls me by my preferred name, and it's very refreshing to be walking down to the hall and hear, "Hey, Coram!" Coram is my preferred name, and I truly appreciate that. I appreciate your friendship, your leadership, and as Senator Sonnenberg said, the Ag Committee, Senator Fields, I was not here when your tribute, and I truly love you. You are a friend for life, and my greatest memories in this building come from serving on the Ag Committee. Because I don't think we were. I've been in the majority, I've been in the minority, and it was more of a family. And families have feuds, but they resolve their differences and they love each other at the end. And I think that's certainly the relationship that I felt in the Ag Committee. And you will you will do well in whatever your endeavors are, and I truly support you. You know, she's a wildlife person. You know, she's always out to protect the wildlife, and as Senator Sonnenberg, she has Highland cattle. Now, I don't know if you know anything about it. He said they're very hairy. They're also very short, so they're only used for ground beef. Kirkmeyer was right. You know, but it's really been, it's been great. You've been someone that I will continue my friendship with. Friendships don't end when you leave this building, and we've got great friendships here. And you know, it's going to be strange in the Ag Committee because the old timers of the committee, Senator from Nebraska, what's his name now? I can't remember. The Senator Sterling from Nebraska. Senator Field, Senator Donovan. We have truly been a group that has the best interest of ag, and we just get it done. And I will miss you, but just remember, after next year, there's no more decorum in this room.
Senator Lundin.
I like this. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Elemental. That's how I see Kerry Donovan. I first met her at the western edge of the Mediterranean Sea. I was in the House, she was in the Senate, we were in Israel together. And got a chance to get to know her a little bit. And as I've gotten to know her more, it's validated my conclusion that she is elemental. She's fundamental. She is fire and ice and light. The fire comes in the boldness, and I would echo many of the things that the senator from Not Parker talked about. I mean, who can carry off a biker jacket on the floor of a political body? I mean, actually carry it. I'm sorry, Smallwood, it ain't working. It just doesn't play, pal, but keep trying. Donovan, kind of works. Works well. And that echoes in the policy that you bring. You don't do little things, you do big things. You go after it with gusto and meaning. The ice is, oddly enough, ice is just frozen water. We have far too few voices on water in this state. I mean, you want to think about the thing that is really critical and is going to be the crisis for our children's children. It's water. And we've let that go. And you've been a voice that has been calling that out and working on that and helping us all understand it just to a small extent. But that's the ice element, which is fundamental to what we're doing. Light. Light is, in my mind, is the purest form of energy. And that energy I see in a quickness of mind that I wish we all shared. I wish I had it, quite frankly. Just the ability to, in an instant, know where the pivot is, where the press is, where the thing we should do is, and I see that in you. Fire and ice and light. I appreciate all of those fundamental elements that you bring to us. I do want to continue strenuously to object to the naming of Gary. I've said from the beginning, his name should be Maximus Dogamus. But Gary is okay, but he is so much more than Gary. He's Maximus Dogamus in my mind. Senator, it's been a pleasure serving with you.
Senator Coram.
Thank you, Mr. President. I forgot to give you the honor you deserve as president here today, and I apologize for that. But with the closures of Highway 50, I've been traveling I-70 lately, and did y'all ever hear of a bear named Smokey the Bear? Wears the hat and all that? Well, I got to tell you something. The other day, it was just right after sundown, and I'm heading up Vale Pass, and I saw the most incredible thing that I have ever seen in the wild. I saw a bear that I swear was wearing Kerry Donovan's clothes. Do you want to tell the story, or do you want me to tell it?
Go for it.
Senator Donovan had one of her Highland bulls that bloated, and so she got a call from your mother, I believe, raced home to save what she could. So she field dressed it as best as she could. And I think it was late, and anyway, I think you only had a pocket knife with you, if I recall, so it's not the best thing to butcher with. But this cowgirl did that. And then she went back to her condo in East Vale, and she is blood-soaked, and she takes her clothes off outside of her apartment. And the next thing she hears, a neighbor yelling, "Bear! Bear! Bear!" True story.
True story.
Senator Fields.
Do I say, Mr. President? Mr. President,
Madam Assistant Majority Leader.
I'm here to honor my good friend. And I was thinking about what to say. And I kept hearing this song, and the song is by Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan. I don't know if you know Shaka Khan. But she sings this song that says, "I'm every woman." You know that one? Yeah. Does that sound good?
It sounds really good.
No. And it goes on to say, "I can read your thoughts right now from A to Z." It also goes on to say, "Anytime you feel danger or fear, I will instantly appear." You are every woman. And the reason I say that is because our caucus really values how you just step in when you see there's a fracture or there's something that needs to be done. You just step in. And that's because you are every woman. And the way you exercise your womanhood is wearing a jacket, like that one, because you're comfortable in your skin. I believe that your mother raised you right. She taught you to be a fighter, and she taught you to be a fighter in all places. We all know that Senator Donovan was a school teacher, and she never stopped teaching when she left the classroom. She went out, and she represents Eagle County and all the other surrounding counties there. And she went out and she became the face in all of the communities that she represents. And she would teach them. And when I say teach them, it's not sit down and just give them words. She would dialogue with them to understand the challenges that they might face, the issues that they're confronted with. It could be a youth, it could be a business owner, it could be maybe the ski locations. You know, she was the face, and what she did when she came down here, we all got familiar with Eagle County because of how she framed the issues that we needed to bring focus and attention to. I was in the House when she brought that cottage bill. And that was a big deal back then. And when I look back at how it has progressed and how we're still building on that initial legislation, that's a big deal. I see her as a pioneer woman. Now, I got that term because I watch Food Network. And there's a woman on there. She's a pioneer woman, and she farms, and she has a farm and a ranch, and she cooks. And I said, I don't know if you cook, but this pioneer woman reminds me of you, because I don't know anyone else like you. I really don't. I know people that farm, I know people that ranch, but I don't know anybody like you. And I've learned so much from you as it relates to being on Ag Committee. And she gets it, and she knows it. She knows the terminology, she knows the issues about water, about land, about open spaces. I can see her picking up critters and just say, oh, this is such and such. She really knows agriculture, and she knows the industry. And I've learned from her because she's able to explain ag in a simple way that we can all get it. I'm a city girl, but she's able to relate to what's going on in the urban places and grounds, as well as in the slopes, in the western slope area. And I really like that about you. Going back to her chairing the committee, and I think the senator from Sterling says it right when she talks about her spirit of not wanting to be the person that has to get all the attention. She really will collaborate with you to help you be successful. She wants all of us to be successful, and it's not just in ag, it could be in education, it could be in local government, it could be in health and human services. And I'm going to stop right there, because when we talk about health care and what she's done to lower the cost of health care for her community, that should be applauded, because it was not easy. It was not easy work. We all remember the bill, how thick it was, and how everybody wanted to have their footprint and their fingerprint on it, even me. But at the end of the day, I voted for it because I believe in having access to quality health care. And she brought that to her community, and it just doesn't stop at her community. It trickles across the whole entire state of Colorado. So thank you for moving beyond ag and addressing health care, which is a serious issue across our state. She is a highly effective communicator. If you're in Ag Committee, there's just no time to be messing around. We're going to get the work done, and we don't need to use a lot of time to do it. And just because you're efficient and you're productive doesn't mean that it's not complete, thorough work. Because we can get it done in the time that's allocated, in the way that we all get a chance to speak our mind and advance our ideas about it. This is my final thought about my friend. I believe that she wakes up every single day thinking about how she can serve the great state of Colorado. She thinks about every single policy that is being introduced. And she finds subtle ways to insert her influence. It might not be in this well, but it is in some of the quiet conversations that she's having with other folks in reference to her perception about that bill. And is it the right and best thing to do for the state of Colorado? So I believe that she wakes up every day thinking about Colorado, thinking about our air, thinking about our water, our land. And she is a civic-minded leader. And I'm going to miss your spirit not being here, just keeping everybody on track. Where is so-and-so? I don't know. I'm studying my bill. But what you would do, you would make sure that we were organized, we were prepared, we were ready for the next piece of business. And without you being here doing that, I guess I'm just going to have to step up and do it myself. Thank you, Senator. I appreciate all you've done for the state of Colorado.
Thank you. That was really meaningful.
Senator Hendrickson.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is fitting to follow my colleagues on Ag Committee and to follow particularly in a line of people who have talked about the things that are immeasurable. Senator, your impact on the state can be measured in many ways, in bills passed, in bills ran, in dollars, in impacts on the community, but there's a lot of immeasurable that has been talked about. And I had the privilege, well, before that, immeasurable, you were one of the first people I met when I came up here, and it has been a privilege having the desk next to you and to learn from you. And it's been a privilege to have your guidance, always not giving directive, but pointing in the right direction. That is immeasurable, and I'm grateful for it. And I had the privilege a little earlier today to sit with your staff and discuss that sort of concept as they have been working and will present you soon with some of the very measurable statistics of your service here in the state legislature. But of course, there's a lot of immeasurable stuff, and how do you capture that, and how do you not let it get lost? And of course, the conversation returns to Gary. And so we were having good fun, and we were trying to put just the measure of having a dog at the Capitol, having an office that is open to all, that has been spoken of before, and the impact that that means, and how do you quantify that? And then we started talking about the mural that Gary has been making on the window. And so we quantified it. There are 120 days in a legislative session, 17 weekends, 34 days on a weekend, so that means about 86 days in a legislative session that we're here. Gary has been with you 6 of the 8 years you've been in the Senate, so that we estimate is 516 days that Gary has been in the state Senate. We have short days, we have long days. We guesstimated that we average 10 hours a day. So, and that about 80% of that time, Gary has spent at the window. That means 4,128 hours at the window. And so while your staff and I were chatting about this, we turned around and we watched Gary, all of us staring intently in silence while he sat at the window. And after 6 minutes, we timed this, Gary booped the window. That averages to 10 boops per hour. So one measurement of your service that we don't want to let go unnoticed is that averages out to 41,280 boops at the window.
Senator Coleman.
Oh, man. Walk-up music.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Up in here.
Up in here. So, if anyone has ever heard Kerry or me let out a big woo, anybody know where that comes from? Has anybody ever watch professional wrestling? Anybody know who that character is? John knows who that character is, but I'm not sure if he's allowed to say. Who, John? Do you know who that is? Ric Flair. So I'm at then Pepsi Center. My brother, who is a huge wrestling fan, and for the men in here, you can pretend like you don't like to see men wrestling tights. That's all right. You can act tough if you want. But my brother grew up watching Hulk Hogan and all these characters, and I used to watch that stuff with him. It's a man soap opera. It's not real, but it looks real. What? It's not real? It's real. Part of it is, the pain is, but not the real fighting. Anyway, so I'm leaving the then Pepsi Center, coming down the escalator, and my brother and his crew, I took him to go see a wrestling match because he still loves that stuff. And I look down the escalator, and who do I see wearing a wrestling shirt? I see Kerry, Donovan, and Shad. And it's just weird because we come to this building, we're in a professional place, and we don't think that we're going to see somebody out at a concert or at an event like that. But it was just really cool to see her in an element where she was having fun outside of the work that we do here in the legislature. So we share that, and it's always good to spend time with her talking about those things. But the two things I was going to say that I really appreciate about Kerry is that when I came over from the house, she was sure to tell me, of course, after I made the mistake, that we don't second motions in committees, and we don't say yes when it's an aye vote. We say aye. But she gave me, as she probably does everybody here, a piece of paper that explains the rules, explains certain motions. And I really appreciate that about you because she's the main reason why I love chairing the cow. Somebody made a comment to me earlier about how I probably chaired the cow the most. Thanks, Meredith. But it's because she took the time, even when I came over here, to stand up here. She probably has as many of us as we go over the script, as we go over how to manage the floor on seconds. So thank you for building up the next generation and making sure we know how to get the work done. The last thing I will say, I've never seen anyone write more thank you cards than Senator Kerry Donovan. I think it's a lost art. It's easy to send a text. It's easy to send an email. It's easy to pick up a phone and make a phone call. But to sit down and write something, it means that you meant it. You ever heard that? If you really want to submit something, if you really want it to be real, write it down. And so she's done that, I think, for all of us in here at some point, maybe multiple times. But she does it for her constituents. She does it for people who probably never think they're going to hear from their state senator. And that's just a powerful thing because it shows you that you matter to somebody who is as humble as she is, but we get elevated up on a pedestal. And so all of those things make you who you are. The character that you have and that you are, fun, but also get the work done. The person who wants to teach, as it was said earlier, and continues to make sure that we have the lessons we need in order to not just run the floor, but teaching how to treat people the right way. And, showing people that they matter by sending those thank you notes out, I think it's something that I'll never forget, and I've been able to do that myself more because you led by example. So thank you so much for not just what you do, but more importantly, who you are, and we love you. Woo!
Senator Bridges.
When I was in the House, I had a very special relationship with Danae Escar, who I think everyone here knows tells you what she thinks. I came over to the Senate. I thought of her, we said to each other, like she's like my big sister. She holds me accountable when I need to be held accountable, which, this will surprise some of you, occasionally needs to happen. And I came over here and I didn't know that I was going to find the same thing. And I don't think I even put my finger on what that role was until I was thinking about what does Kerry Donovan mean in my life. And so I could talk about the day that she spent explaining Colorado water in front of the poster we have in our office, which is mind-blowing. We are truly at a loss in this legislature with her departure when it comes to understanding and knowledge of water. You know, I know for sure that there have been many times, daily, multiple times, when I have received a gentle correction from Kerry. It is never out of malice. It is out of frustration, probably more than love at times, but that's okay. Being a big brother myself, I understand the feeling. But there is underneath that a deep, deep caring, a deep feeling. I think no one in this body feels like down into her soul the way that Kerry does. And we have a little bit of that in common. She hides under a tough Irish rancher exterior. But I have been so thankful to have had someone in this body playing that role for me, doing that for me. I know desperately how badly I need it at times. I appreciate that Kerry consistently calls me to be my better self. And I am going to hopefully keep those lessons in mind and invite all of you, if you see me not coming in for the cow on time, please remind me and let me know. I am a better legislator and I believe a better human being, thanks to Kerry Donovan's role in my life. Thank you, Kerry.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. When I first came to the legislature, I didn't know it, but we had a conversation a few months afterwards where you told me, you were the person I thought I was going to like the least. And that pretty much encapsulates why I love Kerry Donovan, is because she is brutally honest, no matter what. I think that so much of what I love about how you approach this service in this chamber is rooted in raw and unvarnished truth, no matter what. I suspect that's why you have found success as a rancher, as a woman, as a rural Democrat, as someone who is willing to stand up and say, no, we're going to have a conversation about this. And that relentless dedication to being honest, even when it's complicated. Being honest, even when it's hard. And serving your constituents with the love and dedication that you always have. I've learned so much from you by watching you do the work in the way that you do. And so I thank you for that, because I think that it's oftentimes easier to just be like, I mean, okay, fine, whatever. It's harder to actually say, no, I will be the one person. I will do something that may be politically more difficult, but actually lifts up the voices of rural Coloradans within a political set of decisions, right? Like, I love that. The other piece that I just want to acknowledge that I have really come to admire and enjoy is your love of this institution. I don't think, I took it for granted, and then I think it was at the end of Sine Die, like maybe my first, at the end of my second session, we were just like walking around while it was quiet in this building and just being like, I love this. And it made me realize that I think I was starting to take it for granted. And being willing to just stop and when it's quiet, appreciate this institution and its beauty and what's everything that's hard about it, and still being able to find joy in that is something that I hope that you continue to carry with you. It's been a joy to serve alongside you. Same. And thank you for everything that you've done.
Thanks. Mr. Minority Leader.
Favorite
Thank you, Mr. President. Folks like me, middle age, I hope you'd still consider me middle age, white men apparently can't or don't want women in positions of power, and that is not true. I have been blessed to know many women in this chamber and the opposite who have held positions of power, and I think that's awesome. Maybe I'm different, but that's how my mom raised me. Be fascinated with people of different races, ethnicities, their culture, their food, their language, though as a dyslexic, language is a particular challenge for me. I count Kerry Donovan as a friend. We came into the Senate together, and I remember a conversation we shared over in this stairwell. I apologized for something that I didn't do, but I felt that an apology was merited. And I think from that conversation on that Senator Donovan and I started to develop a level of trust, of friendship. I hope she feels the same way. One of the things I think that Kerry and I share is that as dyslexics, at least in my life, I learned to laugh at mistakes, self-deprecating humor. I find that in her. She's comfortable at laughing in a stressful situation or laughing when maybe she makes a mistake. There was a time when there was a vacancy for lieutenant governor, and I think I annoyed Senator Donovan as I kept asking her if she'd had a conversation, if she'd been picked, because I thought the governor would have been wise to select a woman senator from the Western Slope, Kerry Donovan. I think that was an opportunity lost, and I don't mean any insult to the individual who was selected. I just think that there was a better choice. Kerry and I, along with my wife and Senator Pedersen, Senator Sonnenberg, and so many others, we got to enjoy that shared experience of the trip to Israel, and that was awesome. Sort of poured out my heart, my testimony below the city of David, the Temple Mount. One of the things that I've struggled with, it's not Death Squad so much, but it's the t-shirt that says, "Crush the Patriarchy." And I've asked her, does that include me? Because I kind of like seeing her succeed. My parents moved from my birthplace of Omaha, Nebraska when I was 6 months old. I don't remember Omaha, and I don't know why people ask me what I remember about Omaha. I was 6 months old. I mean, my parents' ceiling, laying in the crib. My earliest memories were in date back to my first home here in Colorado, Glenwood Springs. I learned to swim at the hot springs pool. My family, the last few years that we lived in Glenwood, we lived in the canyon. It was now Grizzly Creek Rest Stop. So at heart, when I think about my years in Colorado, I think of myself as a West Sloper. My family used to trundle up east on Highway 6, little two-lane road. Boy, the Colorado River in the springtime was exciting back then. And we'd stop at a little gas station called the Gas House in Edwards. And we'd roll on over the pass. The tunnel wasn't there. And then down through Central City and into Denver. Those are my memories, my earliest memories, and they are grounded in Senator Donovan's district. And I've always felt a kinship with her. My favorite place, now I noted earlier, the most beautiful place you haven't seen, well, that's Gateway, Highway 141, over in Senator Quorum's district. But my favorite place in the summer, I'd really try to get there at least once, hopefully 2 or 3 times a year, is Blue Mesa Reservoir, west of Gunnison. Another shared love that I have with Senator Donovan. Shakespeare wrote the line, "Parting is such sweet sorrow." It's in Romeo and Juliet. I've not embraced that, saying those words. I've rather rejected them my whole life because I always thought, well, if separation causes you sorrow, then don't separate. If it's a burden you don't want to bear, then stay where you are and don't be sorrowful. But I understand it more today. We don't have a choice. Term limits, decisions to move to a different state. Parting is such sweet sorrow because I have a friend. I have someone on the other side of the aisle who I've confided in, learned from, laughed with, and proud to serve with as a fellow dyslexic. I'm sorry to keep going back to that, but it's kind of a big deal for us. The separation is not optional. It's going to happen. Here in a few hours, we will adjourn sine die. In my last day, General Session Day, some of you might be back for a special session, but I won't.
Do the tribute, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kerry, I just want to say thank you for being genuine, for representing the West Slope, for being unashamed and uninhibited to come here at this mic as a dyslexic and speak from the heart. I think since you've given up the scripts, it's gotten much better. I listen when you speak. I hope that whatever the patriarchy is that might hold you and other women back, I hope I'm not part of it. I'll miss you, friend, and again, as I've said before, if you and Chad are in the Sarasota area, please call me. I'll keep the same cell number, and I would be delighted to share a drink and a meal with you on a sunny beach and watch the sun go down as we did in Israel. I love you, friend. God bless you.
Madam President Pro Tem.
For those of you who sat in that seat today in the past 2 days doing this living eulogy, I didn't know what you guys were going through. This is rough. And for those of you still with this experience in front of you, whew, get ready. Oh, there's some here.
Kerry.
With friends like you, no. The end does draw near for all of us. But as the end draws near, I thought I would go back to 2014. And yes, my friend Holbert, I am reading from a script because I didn't think I could do this one with a chance of being thoughtful without writing words down. So any of you that are in a swing seat, front line, whatever we're calling it this year, you know that feeling of dread when the first mailer hits the mailboxes? Someone calls you, someone sends you a picture of it. And in Western Colorado, barely anyone gets their mail at their house, right? So most of us have to go to an actual post office to get our mail, and in my case, to find the negative mailers. So when the word hit that we got our first negative mailer against me, I got in my truck. I don't remember what neighborhood I was in. I don't think I was in Eagle County, because I was knocking doors, and I rushed to the closest post office. I got there, and well, since as we all know, no one actually even looks at these negative mailers, I dug through the trash can. And I pulled out the first piece I could find, and there the first attack was. Quote, Princess Donovan of Vale, end quote. Me with a photoshopped crown, traversing various Western locales and issuing decrees. Now, we have no idea how effective that mailer was, although Princess Donovan tends to hit Twitter quite often. But like George Washington resigning his military commission, I happily ceded my crown and my royalty upon my victory to take a seat in the pure embodiment of democracy that is the Colorado State Senate. All joking aside, I had no crown to give. And it is an absolute privilege to share this chamber with you all. To the graduating class of 2022, but especially those who I shared 8 years within this chamber, all Republicans, Minority Leader Chris Holbert, Senators Jerry Sonnenberg, Ray Scott, John Cook, thank you for being with me through the highs and lows of seeing our colleagues come and go over the past 8 years. Thank you for not killing every single one of my bills in the first 4 years. And you even let me chair the committee of the whole, and I was the only Democrat to do so in 2015. Thank you also to President Garcia, who I'm still mad at for leaving. We have seen this chamber revitalized, refreshed, and remade from how it was when we entered, both in the members that occupy these chairs, but also the paint on the walls, the shine of the chandelier, and the design given to us by those who came before. A lot of you know that this job was never in my career plan. It was not on the tenure list. It was not on the bucket list. I spent most of my life working quietly up in my neck of woods, serving on nonprofits, and then as an educator, making sure that the athletes that we love to watch on the X Games or on the Olympics got a good education, especially those athletes who didn't come from a rich family or have a fallback if they got injured or didn't make a team. It was so fun being a teacher. I've been privileged to live a remarkable life before this. I took over my family's ranch in my 30s, didn't plan to do that either, and had a plan of writing a book of how to be a cowgirl in your 30s, basically where I exposed all of the lessons and things that I screwed up and mistakes I had made while trying to literally be a cowgirl for the first time in my life at the age 30, when falling off a horse hurts a lot more. It was really fun learning how and still learning how to be a rancher, all in that service of providing good food to our communities. It's a remarkable job. I served on the Vale Town Council, bringing my relative youth. I think I was one of the youngest. I think my dad was the only one who had been younger than I to serve on the Vale Town Council, and my naivety to public office. And it's to a council that governs a town with a very dense history, trying to do right by its short past. One thing led to another, and suddenly I was running for a seat in the state senate that no one told me would be decided by a couple votes in each precinct. I really want to thank my parents who said, do it. And I would not have done it if they hadn't instilled in me that value of public service. My father to this day is the longest serving member of the Vale Town Council. My mother to this day is the longest serving member of the Planning Commission for the town of Vale. It was through the meditative practice of knocking on thousands and thousands of doors, calling thousands and thousands of voters, and trying to integrate myself into a struggling community that I found my life's calling, serving this incredible state we get to call home. Pat Stedman, my mentor, said, "Never cry at the well." I'm sorry, Pat. I've taken to the romantic side of our country's history and its roots. That wonderful, unique American belief that we can form a more perfect union based on the belief that we are all created equal and we all share the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That we are all born with the opportunity to live life as we see fit, to take care of our families, and through hard work and determination, change a town, change the state, change the country, and change the world. Now, not all of us have faith in that romantic idea of American possibility, and I learn that best at the conversations I have at the doors of my constituents. Too many of our citizens struggle to afford a house or a roof above their head. Too many of our citizens are forced to lie to their children, telling them everything will be okay when they know a medical bill has gone unpaid or the tax man is coming to collect. Too many of our citizens suffer from a life-threatening illness, unable to afford medication or insurance, and are forced to write their wills years before they should have to. And too many of our citizens suffer the indignity of America's lurking and relentlessly persistent original sin of racism and slavery. The persisting plague of racism places our citizens of color in low-income communities with no escape, held down by a system designed specifically to hold them down. Too many of our soldiers who served our country return only to find that their government abandons them to the horror of post-traumatic stress disorder, or injuries that persist, infect, and kill, as they eventually did to my grandfather and World War II vet, William Bird Mounsey. And too many workers see the rich getting richer and think after their shift, where they worked too hard and got paid too little, this system isn't working for me. Why should I even vote? We all come from our own backgrounds that inform how we approach this job. It's remarkable to watch every day what people bring into this chamber. I remember helping Senator Cook figure out his iPad during our freshman orientation, knowing full well that his views on gun safety are places that we would probably never align on. Senator Sonnenberg and I have had much publicized bouts of disagreement on public lands issues and whether my husband is a Democratic hack or not. For the record, he is. He is also hands down the smartest person in politics in Colorado. Senator Scott and I have traded the partisan warfare of Western Colorado for inappropriate jokes and help people avoid hitting a gas line when digging in their backyards. And one of the best bill signings of all time, where I jokingly went to knee him in the groin, the local reporter took the picture and published it. Senator Holbert and I have shed tears together over our love of this country and love of this building. And though we all have our different prescriptions for the problems that have plagued our country and our state, what I'm most proud of during my time in this body is fighting for solutions for our biggest challenges without falling for the trap of division. I've made friends with senators and representatives on both sides of the aisle, and I feel indebted and grateful to the spirit of collaboration and compromise that says it is possible to fight intensely for our beliefs while being a human being to one another. Friends, we are at a tumultuous time in our country. You see it in your town halls. I have felt it at mine. Our constituents see the other as the enemy. And our campaigns are getting more and more expensive as it gets harder and harder to earn votes from the other side. Well-funded political organizations, corporations, and special interests are putting their thumb on the scale in ways that even just 8 years ago, it felt different. There are forces in this country today wishing to tear us apart. I say with all respect to my friends on the Republican side of the aisle that your spirit of service is the powerful antidote to the anti-democratic forces knocking on our doors. It is on us to fight for every one of those constituents whose stories we hear when we knock on their doors. It is on us to provide a glimmer of hope that our democracy can serve those who need it most. And when called upon to address an unfair system, we should not seek a Democratic solution or a Republican solution, but a Colorado solution. That when we see an injustice, perpetuated by our own, new fees that will be passed down to the poorest among us, or a sinister disbelief in our election system, it is on us to stand against it as a unified voice. All of us in this chamber have a remarkable spirit of service. They don't pay us enough if you don't. And we treat each other well, particularly in comparison to even our colleagues just across the building. Have you ever eavesdropped on the conversations late at night after the gavel? We all care about each other. Wishes of drive home safe. Wishes of, are you staying tonight or are you gonna try to get home? Wishes of, have a great weekend, you probably deserve to check out. We need to tell that story better. The story where we disagree but come together to make sure this institution works and makes a difference in people's lives. I leave this office with more faith in our democracy than I had when I entered it. The work of this country is, by definition, meant to be unfinished. We are an experiment because we are constantly testing that hypothesis of a nation that does well by every citizen. Often we fail, more often we succeed. And I'm asking you to keep the faith. I'm asking you to vote. Reject the politics that tell us we must hate each other, and instead embrace a new path forward, one where we fight as hard as we can and we strategize against each other, but one where we share a common goal. We support our institutions, we support one another, and we have a steadfast belief in our constituents. Now, a few random, unconnected thoughts from an accidental senator, and I've been writing these down all session in my phone. The most important math you need to know in this building isn't the fiscal note, it's this: 33, 18, and 1. Say hi to every school group and take time for the kids. Wave to them when they're in the balcony. They love it. Love the building. You are amongst a lucky few. Pay attention to the myriad of faith leaders of all backgrounds, denominations, and faiths that we are privileged to receive prayers from. Know what drinks on the table means. Eat the breakfast burritos. Learn the jargon. Bring a dog. Some days be the heel, some days be the baby face. If you don't understand that one, talk to Senator Coleman. End the overuse of the safety clause. Trust our constituents. Thank the folks at the Colorado Channel who always catch our best angles. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2. Don't blame the press for your bad quote. You're the one who said it. Appreciate the Secretary of the Senate and her staff. They are the heartbeat of this chamber, and I am forever grateful. Don't be as big of a pain in the ass as I have been for the sergeants. Treasure the partisan and nonpartisan staff, but elevate those who keep this building clean and in good working order. Chris and Kim, thank you for your friendship. Important one, compliment the quinceañera beauties. You want to see someone light up, tell them how great they look when they're posing in our gorgeous building. No one cares about the awards you get from lobbyists. Write your own damn bills. Keegan, Xander, Sarah, Andrew, Marley, Allie, and Kelly, my aides, you have kept me afloat and made this job possible while setting an incredibly high bar. It's so hard when you know you have to say like 3 more lines. What's next for me? Shock and surprise, I'm gonna keep fighting for the state. That's my life calling. I'm not done yet. To the people of Colorado, thank you for this incredible opportunity. I hated that. Thanks. That was so much.
This is your phone, right?